In this video, I'm going to give you 7 quick SCX24 tips and tricks. If you're running a stock battery and you're using an Outrunner motor and you're constantly getting your motor entangled in these wires, take a simple rubber band, throw it around it, and then that way you can still manipulate the end of the wire, but you're not going to get caught. A good way to upcycle some old parts that you don't use anymore, say for example one of these brass patties or even one of these brass weighted wheel extensions, and super glue them to the top of your servo. That way you get extra weight up front, you're using an old part. So as we know, really the golden rule with these little micro crawlers is you want to have 60% weight up front, 40% in the rear. So to continue that thought, a good way where you can save some cash is buy 2 of the same wheels I've got here. These are the Mofo DDP 1-inch bead locks. So all you really need to do is put brass rings in the front and then just run the aluminum rings in the back. And I like to twist them like so. Kind of just go around, and then basically what you'll get is a much tighter, much cleaner cord that's much easier to kind of wrap around itself. You can see it is shaping up pretty good there. Go around it like so. You could also use a lighter. If you don't have a butane torch and you're looking to do this, you could also use some matchsticks, a Bic lighter, or a Zippo and just hold it underneath and it will accomplish the same thing. So I have a bin where I just pull off all the old parts that I'm not going to use, and I keep them because you never know how you're going to use them or what you'll repurpose them into. And I cut it from these little ears right here back, and then that just left me with a flat tray with a little bit of an edge right here. And what I did with that is I made myself an electronics tray in one of my WT micro builds. You can see I just used a little bit of shoe glue and I put that there, and then the back of it actually rests on top of the transmission case. So if you've taken away some material and maybe you don't want to do that, I find that if you are running, say, one of these stock bodies, you can take a Sharpie and just go along the outside after you trim it. Also, if you trim any of the billet material, you can also take the same Sharpie like I did here and just go on the inside a little bit. So here's another super simple tip. If you want to use string like this to make maybe a gate marker or something like that in your course, you could take one of these butane lighters, which is pretty popular if you were to make a drink, and just kind of scorch this thing down. So another tip is if you're using XPS foam like this to make an indoor course, and you can use the same butane lighter to give this thing some texture and depth. Always wear a respirator when you do this though, because this stuff stinks. This is my Sunstruck and he's 2, so it's really just a collection of old parts. It's nothing impressive. But if you can see in the front, if you use a different servo with maybe a longer throw or even different axles, or especially if you use a diff cover in the front or you have a brass diff cover in the front, is this drag link is going to touch the diff cover in the front, and it's actually going to limit your throw, and it's also going to burn out your servo. So what I like to do is I like to take a Dremel and use a Sharpie and just kind of mark out on either side how far it throws, and then that way you use the same drag link, but you've taken away some of that material. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to give yourself a little bit more clearance.